All right, so previously we said that elements combine to form compounds. And what kind of compounds they form depends on the element. So the first type of compound we're going to take a look at is an ionic compound. And so an ionic compound is made out of a metal and a non-metal, or a polyatomic ion, which we'll learn about in a bit. So if you think back to your little periodic table here, right, we've got this little staircase thing here. Let me redraw that, that was not good. Got this little staircase here. And then below is metals. And then above is nonmetals. So if we have a metal and a nonmetal combining, they will form an ionic compound. And in an ionic compound, electrons are transferred. The metal will give up an electron, and the nonmetal will take the electron. So metal loses electron, nonmetal gains the electron. And overall, they will form neutral compounds. So if we think about the combination of a metal and a nonmetal, lithium and fluorine, if we check out our periodic table, we see lithium is in the first group, so it's going to want to form a charge of +1. If we think about fluorine over here, it's a halogen. It's one spot away from the noble gases, so it's going to want to gain an electron, so it's going to want to become F-. And so you can see if we just combine these two, we get LiF, right? The positive and the negative will cancel one another out. And so they will always form neutral compounds. Let's take another example. Let's take a look at calcium and fluorine. If we take a look at calcium, it's in group 2 here, so it's going to want a +2 charge. Fluorine still -1 here. So if we want to form a neutral compound, we're going to need 2 fluorines for every 1 calcium. So the formula is overall going to be CaF2. The subscript 2 indicates that there's 2 fluorines. Another example, lithium, right? We said that was going to be +1. What about oxygen? If we take a look at oxygen, it's over here in the chalcogen, so it's 2 spots away, so it's going to want a -2 charge. And so the overall formula here, we're going to need 2 lithiums for every 1 oxygen. So overall, you should be able to identify whether a compound is going to be ionic, and that's if it's composed of both a metal and a nonmetal. You should know that ionic compounds involve the transfer of electron, in which the metal loses the electron and the nonmetal gains the electrons, and that they overall form neutral compounds. So you need to make sure everything balances out in terms of charge.